and nice to just connect you with Trinity today too. Ka pai. All right, thank you. Moving on, do we have any deputations? No? We do not have any speakers. We have our speakers, so we'll move to item 6.1 on our agenda, confirmation of previous minutes, that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board confirms the minutes of the extraordinary meeting held 3rd of March and the ordinary meeting held 15th of March 2023 as a true and correct record. Do I have a mover for that, please? Thank you, Tanya. And a seconder. Thank you, Jess. All those in favour? Aye. Those against? Any abstentions? Okay. Moving on then to item number 7.1. Our chairperson and members' reports. That the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board notes and reports from Chairperson Chicky Rudkin, members Edwards, Deputy Chair Tanya Felia, Member Gundry for March 2023 be approved. All those in favour? Any against?
Not against.
Any abstentions? No. No. Councillor Busic.
I just want to make a comment. Yeah, the reports are good to see what's actually happened, so thank you very much. But you know, just on page 25 or 24. I see there's a number of things in the report's been made. I'm just wondering about that process. I'm not to criticise the reports in any way. Like Harmony, for example, says there need to be speed bumps. You talk about speed bumps. Speed bumps are mentioned there as well. And really, it's going to be difficult to, if we are just saying do the speed bumps, then we, you know, very likely be at the mercy of whatever's been planned in council. So I'd like to see us look at the community plans and how they actually fit and bring those forward and get that sorted out, and then we can say, then we know where they are. Because, you know, he's saying do the speed bumps. You know, if it's seen that as the whole community or community board is agreeing to this and the community's behind us, then that gives it far more weight. And then we can give the reason if it's not the long-term plan why it should extend forward. Unbudgeted funds to be done to speed limit, because all this costs money, and when you start to juggle in a mix that's going to be tight for money, we would be struggling to actually do all of that.
And we, talking about speed bumps, we, you know, February 20 last year, we had the MPs, police, Hayden Corey, Constable, Moko attended as councillor, as well as a range of other community people requesting speed bumps through the Mapiri open only area because we had 2 near fatalities through there, and we've had no traction even with those types of people in the room.
Yeah.
But that's part of the community driven stuff, so you're wanting to pull things together, aren't
well,
you?
You know, you could be
get back into that.
Mangamoka is a good example. They have been ignored for years and years and years and years. They came to us in the last, might remember that, and we said, look, here's some money. We actually gave them money, do a plan, and straight away they actually got Wakikokaki on board when they saw that plan being done, and then they can saw what's happening, and they said, oh yeah, okay, we can begin some of that now. So that's the power of actually, as a community, putting that together, and then and there's a general agreement, rather than somebody saying, look, we must do this, because it's coming out left field, they've got a plan that's going ahead, and where's this coming from, what about doing the work and everything on that, well, I'm not so sure it's done. So let's do the work up front. That's something that I think absolutely crucial at the moment. We've got a short time before the long-term plan.
Is this something that can fit into a strategic plan?
I think it is in the strategic plan.
Yeah, those things. And then the other complicating factor is that we've got less community development staff who presumably help Mangamoka.
That's right.
He didn't. Mangamoka did it by themselves.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they did all by themselves. But but we do have less staff. And I've raised that with the mayor as well, and he's looking at setting up a group to actually drive that forward.
Okay.
But it's really community
Thanks.
was primary focus for the next 6 months, in my opinion.
Thanks,
Yeah,
councillor Beasley.
feeding into the LTP is what you're
I
saying.
think, and us getting our strategic plan finished.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. So, and just a reminder to us all that the members' reports are written for the community, so we don't want our communities thinking that if it's in the report, it's going to happen. Okay.
So can I explore that? Because it was that statement, yeah? Because I was also going to ask something very similar. We've got a whole bunch of stuff on this report, on each of these reports, drawing our attention to things. So what is the next action, right? So how many you've said, you know, we need speed humps. Now, Melina, you may be able to tell me, you know, what happens to these reports? Are they sent off to the people for answers? Right? Or is it just sit here for the community board to one day decide, hey, you know, that's important enough that we should put that on our agenda next month, or somebody, you know. So I guess the question is, what happens with the complaints that are made, or the points that are made in the member report?
Through the chair, happy to start off the conversation, but I'm looking in Tim's direction as our fill-in for Melissa for the combined community boards. So the chair is correct in that these are documents, these are reports for the community, so that the community has eyes on what it is your elected members are doing. The actions that come out of the community board reports, some of them are pulled out by our community board coordinators, and they followed up if there are RFSs, if there's a request in the report for more information, and so our community board coordinators connect to the staff members involved to get an update or information. So that's what happens with the community board reports, and Kim can elaborate if needed. So the reassurance that I'm hoping I give you is that then the major points or action points are not dropped or left by the wayside. They're covered by our community board coordinators.
And are they put into the system as RFSs? I mean, can they be followed, or can they be followed up?
Some are already RFSs and can be followed up. Others are created for follow-up.
Okay, and are the members themselves told what these new RFS numbers are, so they can keep a tab on what's happening?
So I'm aware that Melissa does keep a tab on them and does update the members, but there could be a different process given that.
Cool, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, moving on to agenda item 7.2, road naming 8113 State Highway 1 or Māpere. Recommendation that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board, pursuant to Council's road naming and property addressing policy 2125, name a private road Te Hekinga Road that is currently addressed at 8113 State Highway 1 or Māpere as per map. Do I have a mover for that recommendation?
I'll move that.
Thank you, Jess. Seconder, thank you, Tanya. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Any discussion?
Need to have this.
Discussion before carried.
Oops. Oops, sorry. Getting away with myself. Okay, let's go back. So that's the recommendation. We've got a mover and a seconder. Is there any discussion around that road name?
Is this the one that was put the line on the table last month?
No, no. This is Waipakapapa. Only that there's a lot of research being done and a lot of
Yes.
support for it, so.
Yes, I feel like there's a lot of detail around the
Yeah.
process.
Yeah, I see John Claris was involved.
Yes. Yes.
Te Roroa have sent a letter of support and.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of local support, so I don't see any problem. So,
Okay, can't find. No further discussion. All those in favour? Aye. Aye. Any against? Carried. Okay. Now where are we going? item of our agenda, item number 4.3, new lease to FENZ, 1089 Broadwood Road, Broadwood.
Madam Chair, we do have the report writers on the screen. If you
Oh,
need to
great.
speak to them.
Okay, I'll read the recommendation first. That the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board recommends that Council approves a new ground lease under the Reserves Act 1977 to be issued to Fire and Emergency New Zealand over 1089 Broadwood Road, Broadwood, local purpose, community buildings reserve being lot 11 DP 38726. The terms of the proposed lease shall be term 30 years, 15 plus 15. Part B, rental $113 plus GIST, FNDC fees and charges schedule. And B, item B, approves further conditions to be negotiated and agreed upon by the Group Manager, Delivery and Operations and Fire and Emergency New Zealand. Any?
There's another page.
Oh, there is. C, approves transferring ownership of buildings and improvements to Fire and Emergency New Zealand for $1. Okay, do I have a mover for that recommendation?
Yeah.
Thank you, Harmony, and a seconder.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jess. Okay, any discussion around 7.3?
It's more of a question. You said you have some of the stuff on board. So I noticed,
Tanya, Stina and Kay making are online.
yeah, so I noticed, for example, that FENZ has requested, and for those that may not know, FENZ is the new entity that's merged the rural fire and other fire services together. And I know certainly the rural areas, they have fundraised, they've put together a lot of sweat equity and funding and everything else to build these premises. And now we're handing it over to FENZ. I would like to know if there's any clause in there, should FENZ actually change again, that these buildings won't be removed, because the local community have put a lot into these buildings to be established for this purpose. So I'm not against that, and I understand that FENZ wants to put more money into them to tidy them up, and therefore would like to actually take ownership of them. And I'm not necessarily against that either, but then again, I don't want to see the community be lost should FENZ actually change again. And we know things can change, as we've seen already. That's my question. Is there any clause in there to protect the building or the community should they wind up?
Thank you. Yeah, through the chair. Yes, so FENZ have made it very clear that any community use of the buildings would stay unabated. So they're very much in support of the community still using those buildings. And I appreciate your concerns in regards to if things were to change, then yes, we can make sure that we ensure that the building can stay available for the community use should FENZ decide to surrender the lease or move on.
Thank you. That was my only concern.
Anyone else? Okay, I'll move that recommendation. All those in favour? Aye. Any against? Thank you. Right, now we are on 7.4, page 45 of the agenda, project funding reports. So we have 4 reports. And the recommendation is that the Kaikohe-Hokianga community note the project reports received from Hokianga Community Arts Trust, Kaikohe District Sportsvilles, Māori Wardens, Living Theatre Charitable Trust, Manaki Tinana Trust, Rawani Hall Rental. Do I have a mover for those reports, please?
Happy to move.
I'll second. Thank you. Any questions about any of those reports or comments?
Not from me, Madam Chair.
No. I just have a question maybe for you, Marlena, or maybe Catherine, just in regards to the reports, is there a place that they're all stored in kind of in some kind of dated order, so that if we needed to go back and have a look for them, they would be easily found?
Well, we have them saved in objective, yes. What do you mean by dated order?
So could I go back and have a look at a funding report from the Hokianga Community Arts Trust
Yes.
in 2021, or?
Yes, we do have them all saved. It's not in the public domain.
Oh, okay.
Unless, apart from what's already come to the community board, and you would have them in the minutes in those meetings.
So you just have to look at the front of the agenda and find the place. Okay, that's cool. Just had a query from a
Click me an email
from
and I can tell you when to look.
person. Great, thank you very much. Okay, all those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any against? Thank you.
Page 57, Madam Chair.
Now I think we only have the one application, do we?
For the Rural Travel Fund.
Oh no, yeah, we've got lots of them, haven't we, for the Rural Travel Fund. So we're on 7.5, Rural Travel Funding applications. The recommendation that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board allocates rural travel grant funding in accordance with the recommendations received from Sport Northland as follows. A. Te Kura Taumata o Pangaru, summer, $1,500. B. Broadwood Area School, sum of $1,615. C. Kohu School, the sum of $1,000. D. Mid-North United Sport, the sum of $2,295. E. Northland College Wakaama, $1,200. F. Kaikohe College, $800. G. Kaikohe Junior Rugby, I need a ruler, $1,000.
Sorry.
I. Rawane School, $1,240.
Just that F and G
J.
got mixed around there.
Pardon?
Just that F and G, the sum total got mixed around. So
Oh,
it's just-
Kaikohe College, $1,000, and Kaikohe Junior Rugby, $800. Thanks, Jess. Rawane School, $1,240. Taimai or Hawaii Junior Rugby, $2,200. K. Te Kura or Omanaya, $1,150. L. Te Kura Takiwā o Punoni, $1,000. M. Te Kura Taumata o Pangaru Winter, $1,130. N. Bay of Islands Netball, $300. O. Hokianga Sports Club, $1,100. Do I have a mover for that recommendation?
I'll move those. And
Tanya,
just add it to Pinakahi.
Oh, yes, thank you. I missed H. Oh, I needed my ruler after all. Yeah, sorry. H was Pinakahi Netball Club, $1,000.
Happy to second it, but
Thank you.
I've got a question as well.
Questions, Cordial, John?
Yeah,
Councillor Besich?
thank you. So this is the schools and clubs out of the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board area. This has been useful, principals and everything else.
And we also have Hayley Fall here from Sport Northland, who is part of the panel that.
Yeah, and thank you for putting all this together on the way and just allocating it, and I assume you've done it all correctly. Bay of Islands Netball,
That's all they applied for.
and are they, where they're located?
Down here.
Number.
Oh, so it's Bay of Islands Netball, which is located in Kaikohe Lumba.
Yeah, down in the
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So I thought that would be the case, but why? That seems to be a bit of an odd one out, so I presume they play here all the time and they don't need to.
Yeah, but they have rep teams that travel away, but that's the amount they applied for. I'll have a discussion with them next time because that's real low. And I know that they go on a lot of tournaments, so yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the netball has been very strong in the past.
Yeah.
And, yeah, and the facilities here, good, so, anyway, that was my comment.
So why are we providing summer funding to the?
Good question.
Okay, so with Kim's being seconded across to another role at the time, the summer one fell through the cracks and didn't get done at the end of last year, but we still have people put applications in. So rather than just ignoring them, we've put them in here. There were only the two for your board. Thank goodness you guys, you as a board, also allocated $10,000 across, because we usually get $25,000 from Sport Northland, as well as what we get from Sport New Zealand. And this year we did not get any funding from Sport Northland because they've changed to the Manawa sport funding model, and didn't tell us that we needed to apply for the funding.
So what is that model?
Do you want to explain to Manawa?
The Te Manawa Fund. So the Te Manawa Fund is money received from Sport New Zealand, and that's allocated to sports clubs, marae, whoever are wanting to encourage sport, active play and recreation. And so what's happened from Sport Northland was allocating a portion of that Te Manawa Fund into the Rural Travel Fund. And so, I'm just new, but anyway, but what used to happen, it was a oral agreement, and that's how it worked in the past. That person has now left, and now they are wanting a written kind of, well, still oral, but they had to have another conversation about how that arrangement worked.
And they didn't tell us that we needed to have that conversation. So it wasn't until I went, where's the money, that they went, well, we've got nothing left, you should have applied. And we went, were you going to tell us we needed to apply? And they went, oh. So we had enough to do this funding round, and we have some very serious conversations that we will be having before the next funding round, which will be in September as well.
Okay, so back to my original question, the summer one is in retrospect because we didn't, it fell through the gaps.
It felt, we didn't call for applications, but we still got some applications in. If we had called for applications, they would have been eligible, so.
So back to my question, is this in retrospect?
Yes.
Okay, and is there any issues with that?
There is an I know there's human error, and
Well, no, I guess the question is.
Yeah.
Not from our end, so long as.
Okay, so
yeah,
there's no rural travel fund policy that says you can't reply in retrospect.
no.
That sounds very, yeah, okay, thank you.
It's just the fear that
And what's the total amount that could be dispersed for travel fund?
We dispersed everything that was available. So there is nothing left in the pot.
I just have a query about the numbers of participants in each group and the geographical distance that they have to travel. Is that taken into account?
So what we did is we worked out how much there was available for each one, plus your $10,000 that you as a board contributed. We worked out how many students there were across every application and divided the amount available by the number of students, and then tried to fit things in that way.
So there's a little equation that we apply to the fund, the total amount, and then we try and divvy it up fairly amongst a whole lot of them.
So, Madam Chair, that last training, what 10K, Mike can correct me if I'm wrong, when we looked and Cheryl was doing the job there and doing a good job as well, and we were concerned, given the very high deprivation in the distance in this ward, that it was not necessarily a fair distribution of funds. And now to hear that we've actually had a deficit, will we ever be able to catch up? It'd be nice to actually have consideration for deprivation and the distance, and how far people have to travel. And as an example, someone who wants to do a job in Kaikohe, or play in Kaikohe from Ramley, needs to travel 100 kilometres if they need to take a vehicle around, all around. That's how, these are the things that have then, that occur on a regular basis, plus with schools, plus with slips and so on. So it is a significant issue for Hokianga. So I just want that to be considered.
Yes. Yeah, they do provide, the distances that they do travel, and, I lived there too, but being my first round, anyway, the next round I reckon will be a bit more consistent and those taken into consideration a bit more.
Well, thanks, Hayley. Thanks for the work that you do, and particularly getting as many applications through as you did. That's awesome. Particularly cool to see, as Councillor Busich mentioned, the sporting bodies out in the Hokianga who do have a fair distance to travel, and it's just neat that we can provide opportunity for those to participate in events. So, yeah, thank you for that. All those in favour? Aye. Where are we now? We're on 7.6, I believe. We are. So the recommendation is that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board confirms Resolution 2022/47 of 14th September 2022 and approves the sum of $5,000 plus GIST if applicable be paid from the board's placemaking fund account to Kaikohe Community Association for the design and pricing of a kitchen and or toilet for the Kaikohe Hall to support the following community outcomes. Proud, vibrant communities, communities that are healthy, safe, connected and sustainable. Do I have a mover for that recommendation? Thank you, Jessie. Seconder. Thank you, Trinity. Any discussion around that? Happy to support.
Well, that's a recommendation. I just, as raised before, I don't want rates being collected through depreciation for the purpose of actually renewals and everything else, and then have the community run away and fund these things. So I would like actually, just by way of note, that the 5K, which I'm happy to have there, that it's that also you check just what has been collected and therefore allocate to the all
to that place.
Yeah, the detail that they actually need to make the decisions and the funds.
Can I ask a question that somebody in the room may be able to answer? Is that can somebody clarify to me? It carries on from what John said. Now, my understanding was the maintenance of the external building is from one fund, but the internal upgrades and so on, often all committees have to seek funding. Is that correct, or is that correct? So we collect rates just for the external parts of the hall? Or?
So through the chair, I'm not 100% correct. I do know that in general, the council is to maintain the outside of the building, and then the inside of the building is for the community hall organisation to maintain. But I think the word there is maintain and not necessarily upgrade. So one of the benefits of having a community hall organisation look after it is that they can apply for external funding like the Foundation North, DIA, community boards, etc. for those upgrades as well. But there is renewal funding, whether or not that is for the exterior and interior. For example, toilets, because those are quite costly and probably not something that a community organisation could fund out of running the community hall.
Can we get that? Can we put that as action to get that clarified, please?
Well, I mean, we can clarify it, but we can see even from this case where the council has decided to upgrade toilets, which are internal. Okay, that becomes very murky, and so what we found is that it is different from every discussion, as we found, okay, and so the idea of this application was to say, hey, look, if we can put a ring around the numbers that are required for the kitchen, then not only does that enable somebody to go out and get extra funds, it also enables the whole thing to be put on a long-term plan, or even included in the upgrade of the toilets, which need that space, right? I mean, if you go to take the kitchen away for toilets, part of the price should be you get a new kitchen. You can't, I mean, because if they don't get this, they're without kitchen, which is, in favour of the toilet. So that was the reason for this. It was just a strategy the last thing we would have of supplying information, so supplying money that could leverage off and get huge amounts of other money by going one step forward.
No issue with the recommendation of the report, Madam Chair, as I said before, but I think Jess does, in my points, good points, and I think it is murky. And I think there's a simple answer. The simple answer is what are the depreciation and they value the building? How they value the building, if they include, you know, the toilet and everything else is part of the value, then they should be renewing it, I would think.
Well, the simple answer is delegation of course the community boards.
That's right, and that's what we've requested and asked for, and we shouldn't forget that. We wouldn't have had that trouble in COVID, we got that delegation, in my opinion. But just going back to Jess's point, I think it's really important that we do have that clarified, and if we can get that clarified and and a consistent way we approach it all our people. And actually delegating you know, the governance of the boards to the community would be great too.
I do have a question. Within the recommendation, it talks, be paid from the board's placemaking fund. I thought we couldn't allocate for these types of things from a placemaking fund.
That is placemaking though.
Is it?
Developing hall infrastructure would be
Placemaking
placemaking.
is basically whatever makes a community a better place to live in.
Which that does. Okay, thank you.
I think anything new, yes, but if it's been, is an asset within council, it's a council asset, and we're depreciating it, we actually are, you know, in theory, we are collecting dollars for renewals on the hall.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion from anybody? Okay, all those in favour? Aye. Any against? No abstentions, thank you. Where are we up to? Page 71, information reports. Item number 8.1, Kaikohe-Hokianga Statement of Community Board Fund Account as at 28th February 2023. Recommendation that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board receives the report Kaikohe-Hokianga Statement of Community Board Fund Account as at 28th February 2023. Do I have a mover?
Yep.
Thank you, Councillor Vusic, and a seconder, please. Thank you, Member Felia. Any discussion or questions around that report?
I did, sorry, I have a question, just around the funds not uplifted. So do they just sit there for a certain amount of time?
So some of them I'm working out who we need to pay and who that needs to go to. There is, at the moment, the only ones not uplifted, she's scrolling back so she's got it on her screen, there's Waimamaka Community Garden Group. For some reason that's not been uplifted, so I need to chase up with them, and that was granted in December. SMC events, they uplifted one, and I think they've just missed the uplifting from the other two boards. Their accounts person has only done one, so I'm chasing up with them as well. Kaikohe-Hokianga Kitaraki Society, I'm not sure why they didn't uplift their $1,800, and the others were placemaking. There are two that will come in next month's report that we will be rescinded, or that I'm recommending we rescind. One of them is partial for the Hokianga Sailing Trust, who granted $3,560 for the purchase of an outdoor motor in June of 2022, and they invoiced us for $3,500 and forgot about the 60. And they said, oh, we've purchased it now, we don't need the 60, so I need to rescind that, so you get the 60 back. And Rob Pink, so at the last community board meeting, you granted him funding for the next 3 years. The last time he applied, he was granted funding for that year as well as this year, and I don't think he realised, so he never invoiced us for this year. So he put in a new application and has now uplifted that, but there's $1,650. So I'll be putting in to rescind that.
Which we can use in this next.
You can use this year.
And that's a community grant, not a placemaking.
Yes.
So at what point do you stop chasing people?
I try and tidy everything up at the end of the financial year. And then it's up to the board whether they want to wait until the new financial year to rescind the resolution so that the funding carries over, or rescind that resolution at the last meeting of the financial year and reallocate it at that meeting, because it's a use it or lose it.
Member Edmonds, can you just tell us what you can recall you guys did, if there was any unused funds?
You definitely go with Catherine's former suggestion.
Rescind.
After.
Wait until the new financial year.
And roll it over. Can you do that with placemaking fund as well?
Well, the funding is allocated by resolution, so long as the money is allocated by resolution, it carries over to the new financial year. If it's sitting there on the 30th of June and is not allocated to anyone, it's gone. You've lost it. It's gone back into the council pot. So at your meeting in June, you will be allocating down to the last cent. You don't want to lose it.
Which requires applications to be put in over the next 2 months.
Not necessarily.
Not.
Preferably, yes.
Right.
But the board can say we allocate this money subject to a funding application coming in, which is what's happened with
Which
Kaikohe-Hokianga.
caused the confusions.
Yes, and things like that.
Okay, we also allocated part of the remaining money last year to the rural travel fund. So that wasn't a take out of money out of anything else. It was left at the end of the year, so we covered it.
Yeah.
So we just come up with a whole bunch of ideas. That's
Awesome.
what
Oh,
was
that was the 10
allocated.
the rural travel fund, great.
So if there's a community initiative that's been brought to our attention that is community driven, are they, and it's a placemaking, how do they make application for some of those funds?
The same way they do for any other, for your community grant funding, it's the same form. It's you as a board, or through the recommendations, decide whether it comes out of the placemaking or community grant fund.
Okay.
We are looking at separating those two out, so that, because at the moment it all sits in the same pot. So.
Okay, thank you.
Although sometimes you've said that's not eligible for the community grant, it's a placemaking, and vice versa, I have heard that. So there are some criteria that need to be fulfilled.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Catherine. Any further queries or cordial around that? No?
Oh, yes, you do.
Yes.
Catherine, there's a whole bunch of stuff there that we put aside for the council to uplift.
Yes.
Okay, now.
And I've been tidying that up in the last few days, so I've worked out exactly how much and where, because some of it was, the money was allocated, but it was never transferred across. So it's just
or you could not tidy it up.
Yeah,
And
we're too late for that.
we could rescind the.
You could, but we've already sorted it now, so although on there it's not showing as transferred, it will be showing as transferred by the next meeting. Sorry.
Okay.
So if we got it last meeting, you just rescinded it all, we'd be okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So I will say the only ones you've got on there that I haven't dealt with yet, because I'm still working out who on earth I need to deal with, is the $3,000 that you allocated on the 3rd of August for visual communications for Memorial Park, and $20,000 for the Pioneer Village, because I wasn't sure where that needed to go. So at the moment, that's still sitting there, and you can rescind those resolutions if you choose to.
What page is that on? 73?
I'm not entirely certain.
Oh,
I
can't see those.
So at the meeting of the 14th of September, there were 3 resolutions made. One was for the Kaikohe Community Association for the 5,000, which you approved today. One was for $3,000 for visual communications, PR and VR for Memorial Park here in Kaikohe, which was, the resolution said it was to go, I believe, to the Chief Executive or Communications Manager, and so that's just sat here for the moment.
And within council.
Yeah. And then at that same meeting on the 14th of September, $20,000 was allocated to future planning of Pioneer Village, and that was allocated to the Chief Executive or nominee. And so.
And for the last 6 months, they haven't come back with did they need to put in an application?
Well, the board allocated that to the Chief Executive or nominee, and so
They haven't come back to.
well, I don't know who exactly will be leading that project, if at all. So,
Okay, so you'll follow up on those things and then we'll have opportunity at our next meeting to decide what happens?
Yeah.
Or our final meeting?
you've got 2 meetings left. Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you, Catherine. All those in favour? All right, any against? No abstentions? Carried, thank you. Moving on to 8.2. We have a recommendation that the Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board receive the report Kaikohe-Hokianga Community Board Action Sheet, update April 2023. Do I have a mover? I'll move that. Do we have any discussion around the action sheet update?
Through the chair, item 1, road naming lot 19, which was held left to lie at the last meeting.
Right.
So the current update is that Selena, who was the report writer, Selena Sopia is now no longer working for the council. So NTA is undergoing a process where they find someone new to look after road naming reporting. That may not come to